What if I told you there are people in history who lived over 500 years, not in stories but in whispers passed through generations? They were feared, worshipped, hunted, and some say, they still exist. They never aged like you and me. They thrived in the shadows, feeding not just on blood, but on power. They ruled empires, started wars, and vanished without a trace. You've heard of vampires in movies, pale skin, sharp fangs, immortal souls. But the truth is much older, much darker. The first vampires weren't born from fiction, they were forged in history, through terror, through death, and through ancient rituals that defy belief. This is not a fairy tale. This is how history remembers those who refuse to die. This is the truth behind the vampire myth, and the chilling path of how a human became a monster. And if you truly want to know how to become one, keep watching. But beware. Some stories should stay buried. Want to know how a human becomes eternal? How the first vampire sparked a nightmare that still haunts us? Stick around. But don't say I didn't warn you. Some truths bite harder than the myths. Picture this, 6,000 years ago in the cradle of civilization, Mesopotamia. The air's thick with dust and fear, cities rise from mud and humans are just starting to write their story. But something's already wrong. The Sumerians didn't sleep easy. They scratched warnings into clay about Lilitu, a night demon, a shadow with a woman's face who slipped into homes to steal babies and drain their blood. Her mother? Lamashtu, a goddess so vile she devoured her own children, her teeth dripping red as she prowled the dark. The Sumerians didn't call her a vampire, but they built shrines to keep her away. Jump to ancient Egypt, 3000 BC. Pharaohs obsessed over immortality, mummifying their bodies to cheat death. But whispers spread of priests who went too far, drinking blood in secret rituals to bind their souls to this world. Tomb carvings show jackal-headed figures feasting on the living. Coincidence? Or the first hint of something darker? Then Greece, 1200 BC. The poet Hesiod wrote of Empusa, bronze-legged seductresses who lured men to their beds, only to rip them apart and drink their life dry. Mothers told tales of Lamia, a queen-turned-monster, her thirst for blood born from grief and rage. Across the globe, from China's Zhangshi, stiff, hopping corpses that sucked the qi from your soul, to India's Vitala, spirits that possessed the dead and hunted the living, these weren't campfire stories. They were terror carved into every culture. Why? Because humans saw something real, something that wouldn't die. Now let's meet the guy who turned whispers into screams. The one history calls the first true vampire, not a myth, but flesh and blood. His name? We don't know for sure. But the story starts in Eastern Europe, around 1000 BC in the Carpathian Mountains, a place of jagged peaks and endless winters. Archaeologists found it, a grave unlike any other. A skeleton, 3,000 years old, pinned to the earth with iron stakes through its chest and skull. The body wasn't buried with honor, it was trapped. Nearby villagers left offerings. Garlic, ash, severed animal heads. Why? Because they believed this guy didn't stay down. Who was he? Some say a tribal chieftain who went mad, slaughtering his own people in rituals to defy the gods. Others claim he was a shaman who cracked the secret of blood magic, drinking the life of his enemies to steal their years. Here's the kicker. His skull showed teeth filed to points. His bones? Taller, stronger than any man from that time. And the soil around him? Stained red, not with rust but with traces of human blood. This wasn't a random nutcase, this was a predator, a king of the shadows. And when he rose, because the stakes say he did, the Carpathians trembled, villages burned, people vanished, and the legend of the Strigoi was born, undead souls who clawed back from death to feed. This guy wasn't bitten by a bat, he made himself eternal, through violence, through blood, through a will too savage to rot. Fast forward 2,500 years. The first vampire's shadow still looms, but now a new monster takes the stage. One so brutal he'd make the Carpathian psycho proud. Transylvania, 1431. A boy is born, Vlad the Dracula. His father ruled Wallachia, a land drowning in war with the Ottoman Empire. But Vlad? He wasn't here to play nice. At 12 he's kidnapped by the Ottomans, tortured, beaten, taught to kill. By 17 he's free and he's pissed. He claws his way to the throne, and what he does next isn't just war, it's a horror show. Vlad the Impaler earns his name. He impales 20,000 people, Ottoman soldiers, traders, peasants, on stakes so tall they pierce the clouds. He turns his castle into a screaming forest of the dead, their bodies twitching for days. He doesn't just kill, he feasts. Chronicles say he dipped bread in their blood, ate meals under their groans, grinning as the crows circled. Was he insane? Maybe. But he was also a genius, leading the Order of the Dragon, a holy knight crew, while slaughtering like a demon. Dracula meant son of the dragon, but to his enemies, it was devil's spawn. When Bram Stoker dug up Vlad's story in 1897, he didn't invent a vampire. He just gave this real-life nightmare fangs. So how do you go from human to bloodthirsty immortal? History's got answers, and they're not pretty. In the Carpathian chieftain's time, it was raw power. Kill enough, drink enough, will yourself past death, and the earth spits you back out. Tribes believed blood was life itself. Consume it and you steal the soul. By Vlad's era, folklore got specific. Live a life of sin, murder, betrayal, cruelty, and your soul's too heavy to leave. Die violently, get buried wrong, no cross, no rights, and you're a Strigoi ticket waiting to punch. Medieval Europe added rules. Black cat crosses your grave, you're cursed. Born with a caul or red hair, marked for the undead, drink blood or get bitten by one who did, and the hunger takes root. Some went further. Blood magic cults in Hungary boiled human hearts, chanted to demons, and swore pacts to never die. Graves from the 1300s show bodies weighted with stones, mouths stuffed with garlic. Proof people believed it worked. It wasn't a bite that made you a vampire, it was a choice. A descent into darkness so deep even death said, nah, you're too much. Vampires aren't just monsters, they're mirrors. They're us, unchained. Fear of plague made us see corpses that bloated and bled, proof they lived. Fear of power made us turn tyrants like Vlad into legends. They're the ultimate rebellion, immortal, unstoppable, free of guilt, but every vampire king fell. The Carpathians staked, Vlad beheaded. Yet the stories live, because deep down we wonder, what if we could break the rules? The first vampire wasn't a myth, he was a man who laughed at death. Vlad turned that laugh into a roar, and today, some say the shadows still move. Subscribe to Histoveins for more truths that'll keep you up at night, because vampires aren't just history. They're the part of us that refuses to die.